Welcome back to the bridge side. Before we get into it, if you haven't checked my video out from yesterday where I completely broke down the 4-2-3-1 formation that Maresca will use for tonight, then please go check that video out. Based on that system, I've picked the starting lineup that I want to talk about, the one I believe gives Chelsea the absolute best shot at winning. Because this is it. The knockout stages of the Club World Cup, there are no second chances, no room for error. Especially against a Benfica team that just pulled off a shocker against Bayern Munich. And yes, granted, it was a weaker Bayern Munich, but it's still Bayern Munich. Enzo Maresca has some huge decisions to make. And even if he gets one of them wrong, our journey could be over. And I've been digging into the stats, the recent form, and how the opposition sets up. And I've got a big, surprising goal. A very controversial change up front. And a midfield duo that, simply just has to start. So let's get into it. Tonight's match in Charlotte isn't just a round of 16 game, okay? It's our chance to make a statement after a roller coaster group stage where we beat LAFC, lost to Flamengo, and then finally secured our spot with a 3-0 win over S Tunis. We need to find some consistency. Benfica are absolutely flying after that massive 1-0 win against Bayern Munich. They've been sharp this whole tournament, scoring 9 goals and only conceding 2. You just know they're going to be confident, organised, and basically very dangerous. To deal with that, we have to be tactically perfect, and for me, it has to be the 4-2-3-1. It's the system Maresca has been leaning on, and it gives the defensive stability we need, especially to shut down Benfica's threats while letting our creative players have the freedom to hurt them. The key is going to be that double pivot in midfield, shielding the back line and controlling the game's tempo. With Benfica likely to play a similar 4-2-3-1, the battle for the midfield of the park is where this match is basically going to be won or lost. And of course, the biggest piece of team news is obviously Nicholas Jackson's absence. That red card against Flamengo meant he's out for the crucial game. It's definitely a blow. I was annoyed. I know all you guys are annoyed, and quite frankly, I think we can all say that he can leave. Just based off the absolute disappointing moment is given us twice this season, especially in likes against Newcastle. But it's also a massive opportunity for another player to step up and lead the line. But stay tuned because we will get into that. In goal, I'm making my first big call of the night. I'm dropping Sanchez and I'm starting Philip Jorgensen. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sanchez is our number one, but let's be honest, he has been shaky, right? He's capable of brilliance, but there's been way too many moments of hesitation, too many questionable calls when the pressure is on, and against a clinical team like Benfica, who, with finishes like Pavlidis and the good old Angel Di Maria, one mistake will get punished. In his limited minutes, Jorgensen has shown a calmness and a command in his box that we desperately need in a high stakes knockout game. He comes for crosses with real authority, and his distribution is so crisp and decisive. This is a game for cool heads, and I believe Jorgensen gives us that extra layer of security that will spread through the whole defence. It's a bold choice, but in a match this big, it has to be a necessary one. Because Sanchez, more than likely, Maresca will go for him, and we'll all see why he shouldn't have done that. So, starting at right back, there's no debate. A fit and firing Reece James has to start. Simple as that. He's one of the best in the world in his position. His leadership is huge, but it's his engine and his delivery that will be a key weapon for us. He was rested against S Tunis match, so he'll be fresh and ready to own that right flank, both in defence and attack. We're going to need his pinpoint crosses and his ability to overlap with pace to really stretch the Benfica back line. And hopefully that illness that kept him out of the S Tunis game is gone. Fingers crossed. But next to him, in the heart of defence, I'm sticking with Tosin Adarabioyo and Levi Colwill. That partnership. This duo has looked incredibly solid. Tosin brings that old school defensive command. He's aggressive, he's dominant in the air, and a real leader back there. Plus, he got on the score sheet against Tunis, so his confidence will be sky high. And alongside him, Levi Colwill, he's just pure class. His composure on the ball is second to none, and that allows Chelsea to build from the back even when we're being pressed hard. his knack for reading the game and making those crucial interceptions will be vital against Benfica's fluid attack. Together they have the perfect mix of, strength and skill. And at left back, it's got to be Mr. Cucurella. He's been a revelation this season. Hasn't he? His energy is infectious for us. And his fight just sets the tone for the whole team. He's not just a scrapper. His run forward, to support the attack have become a massive asset. And he's so reliable in the big moments. And tonight is the biggest one yet. We'll need his relentless work rate to help contain Di Maria, who, let's face it, still has that world, class quality. And yeah, he's getting on in age, but he's still brilliant. Now let's talk about the engine room, the midfield. This is where the game will be won or lost. And for me, the pairing is non-negotiable, okay? Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. Let's start with Enzo, right? Who will be facing his old club, which just adds a fantastic layer of spice to this match. He's been in sensational form, pulling the strings from deep and chipping in with goals and assists. So far, in 2025, he's been our most creative player by a mile. And his ability to see a pass that nobody else can will be the key to unlocking Benfica's stubborn defence. I mean, the guy's got 9 goal involvements in 10 games for Chelsea. And then obviously beside him, you have the engine himself, the master, Moises Caicedo. He is the one who breaks up plays, shields the defence and sets up the tempo for our attacks. His tactical intelligence is what gives Enzo the freedom to push forward and create. Caicedo's work rate is just phenomenal. He covers every blade of grass, snuffing out danger before it even starts. The balance this partnership brings is the foundation of our system. They are the engine room. And against a talented Benfica midfield, with guys like Renato Sanchez, their dominance is everything. Playing just ahead of them in that number 10 role is, of course, Cole Palmer. What more is there to say about this guy? He is our shining star. The creative spark that just ignites our attack. His ability to drift into those little pockets of space is almost impossible for defenders to track. He doesn't just assist, he scores huge goals. In a tight game like this, where chances might be a few and far between, a moment of individual brilliance from Palmer could be the difference. He has to start. On the right wing, I'm going with the man in form. One of my favourites, Mr. Pedro Neto. He brings that raw pace and directness and a real goal threat that just terrifies defenders. He's scored in his last 2 starts and has been racking up assists, all right? Making him one of our most dangerous weapons right now. We need players who are aggressive and confident in the final third, and nobody embodies that more than Pedro Neto himself at the moment. On the left wing, okay? And this is going to be the most controversial one, and I'm going to get called out for this. Christopher Nkunku gets the nod from me. After a season filled with, frustrating injuries, and he's really starting to look like his old self again, especially in his last performance, I think was outstanding. It was full of intelligent movement, and his sharp passing and the kind of technical quality that just elevates our whole attack. Starting him tonight it's a massive vote of confidence. A chance for him to build on that momentum and, remind everyone what a world-class talent he is. His ability to cut inside and link up play with Palmer and the striker adds another dimension to our play, and I think he deserves to keep his pace over Nona Madueke for this one. Being that, granted, Noni had a couple moments in the last game, but if you really look at the form both those players are in, Nkunku has been nowhere to be seen. His attitude was terrible, his effort was minimal, and suddenly he turned it on in that last game. Now, I don't know if he's trying to sell himself so he can be sold, but keep it up, mate. Carry on doing that for Chelsea. He nearly had a goal. If he brings that level to this game, and keeps that level, I would happily keep him. I love Christopher Nkunku. I love what he can bring to the table. But if he's going to bring this level, then you need to stay and you need to keep proving your worth. And this leaves us with the man leading the line. With Nicholas Jackson suspended, the responsibility falls to Liam Delap. This is a massive opportunity for the young striker, and I genuinely believe he's definitely ready for it. He broke the number 9 spell already, with that goal against Espirits Tunis. which is a huge confidence booster, heading into the biggest game of his Chelsea career so far. Delap has to offer something different from Jackson. He brings a powerful physical presence, ability to hold up the ball and bring others into the game. He's also a fantastic presser who can tirelessly work off the ball. And his record from last season shows he's a natural finisher who consistently overperforms his XG. He's the perfect guy to occupy Benfica's veteran centre-back, someone like Nicolas Otamendi, and create space for Palmer and Kunku to work their magic. It's a huge test, but I genuinely believe Delap has the tools and the temperament to make a real statement. And imagine if he gets on the end of them Pedro Neto crosses and link-up play. I'm so excited for tonight. I really am. But I've put together an image, like I usually do, of the full lineup, just so you can see it on the screen now. This is the 11 altogether that I believe can get the job done tonight. Obviously, bench impact, we've got a strong starting 11. It's only half the story. The options on the bench, could be just as important, right? If we need fresh legs in midfield to see the game out, you've got the likes of Andre Santos, who Maresca has come out and said he's more like a Enzo Fernandez. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's an attacking midfielder, which is brilliant. Which means that you can see that going into next season, Andre Santos is going to be Enzo's like-for-like replacement, and that excites me. And it's positive knowing that he is more than likely going to stay and fight for his place. You got Romo Lavia, who's also a fantastic player to bring on. And if we're chasing a goal late on, imagine bringing on Noni Madueke's pace and, a little bit of trickery against the firing Benfica's defence, who are more likely to be tired from the heat. This could be a total game changer. And let's not forget the young guns like Tyreek George, who scored in his last game, who will be hungry for another chance to impress. Our depth is our real strength, and Maresca will have plenty of quality to turn to in that second half. So that's it. The Chelsea starting 11 that I believe has the quality, the balance, and the right mentality to go out there and beat Benfica tonight. It's a team built on a solid defence and a dominant midfield and clinical attack. I'm feeling confident. Of course I am. It feels like Chelsea found their rhythm at the perfect time against Espirito Tunis. While Benfica are dangerous, I think it'll be the difference. And I'm predicting a statement win for the Blues tonight. I'm predicting a 4-1 victory for Chelsea. Let me know in the comments. I really want to know what you think. Drop your preferred starting lineup in the comments below. What would you change? What's your score prediction? Let me know. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have got this far. And hit that like button. But don't forget, guys, when I get to 1,000 subs, I will be doing a giveaway where I give one of these shirts, whether it's a home or away kit, with all the badges on, personalised, number on the back, name, whether you want one of the boys from Chelsea or you want a family member or yourself. It's all down to you. So get me to 1,000 subs and you could be at a chance of winning. Who doesn't want a free shirt? This is a massive night for the club. It's a chance to take another big step forward in a huge global competition. If this team plays up to its potential, I have no doubt we'll be booking our ticket to the quarterfinals. Enjoy the match, wherever you're watching. And as always, up the Blues. Come on, Chelsea. Peace.